On our previous lecture, we talked about plant cells, its components, and the function of each component. Today, we are going to talk about the different types of plant cell. And there are three: the parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Parenchyma cells, these are the cells that are isodiametric in shape. When we say isodiametric, it means they are roughly spherical or polyhedral. So they may be polygonal, oval, or elongated. They have thin walls, and these thin walls are primarily made of cellulose and hemicellulose. They also have prominent nucleus and protoplasm. So this is the thin wall, this is the nucleus, and this is the protoplasm. The term parenchyma comes from two Greek words, para and enchuma. So, enchuma. Para means beside, and enchuma means infusion. So, these cells are closely packed, but they have small intercellular spaces. So, what are intercellular spaces? These are spaces between cells or between adjacent cells. And these are this one, this, and many more. The general functions of parenchyma cells includes storage, support, and gas exchange. But they are also important in photosynthesis, transport, and regeneration. And there are different types of parenchyma cells that is responsible for the functions. The first type is this one. These are parenchyma cells with chloroplasts. The green dots here are the chloroplasts. They are called Sclerenchyma. And since they have chloroplasts, they are important in photosynthesis. Although they also have storage function. The next one is parenchyma cells with air spaces or air cavities, and these are the air cavities. These are called parenchyma cells, and these are important for buoyancy and aeration. So, parenchyma cells can be found in the roots and stems of flooded crops such as the rice. There are also parenchyma cells that are elongated with tapering ends, and these are called prosenchyma cells. So, these provide mechanical support to the vascular tissue. So, these are the general types of parenchyma. But we also have the vascular parenchyma. And when we say vascular, the first thing that comes to mind is the xylem and the phloem. So xylem parenchyma are those that store water. So these are examples of xylem parenchyma. While these are examples of phloem parenchyma since they are able to store photosynthase. Another type is the conjunctive parenchyma. These are found in the root system. And their function is, of course, to absorb water and minerals from the soil. Epidermal parenchyma, these are found in the epidermis of the leaves of some gymnosperms. But for illustration purposes, this can be seen just below the cuticle. We also have the mesophyll parenchyma. If you remember in your botany class, the mesophyll layer of a leaf is divided into the palisade and the spongy mesophyll. So technically, the mesophyll parenchyma are just Sclerenchyma cells because they contain chloroplast. The difference between the palisade and the spongy is that in palisade parenchyma, there are several chloroplasts and few intercellular spaces. While in spongy parenchyma, there are few chloroplasts and prominent intercellular air spaces. The next type of cell is the collenchyma. The term collenchyma comes from the Greek word kola and enchuma. So the kol comes from the word kola meaning glue. Okay? And the enchyma means infusion. So collenchyma cells, these are thickened cell walls. So this one. They have thickened cell walls, and their cell walls are made up of cellulose, hemicellulose, and pectin. We discussed last lecture that pectin is important for cell adhesion. So the glue here is the pectin. And because of this pectin, these cells are closely packed. So they have no or little intercellular spaces. And since they have thickened cell walls, the diameter is small. Therefore, the cytoplasm is in small amount. But they are living cells at maturity. So what are the functions of collenchyma? It includes mechanical support and flexibility. They normally occur in the vascular bundles or on the corners of angular stems. They may also be found in petiole, leaves, and young stems. So there are 4 types of collenchyma cells. The first type of collenchyma is the angular collenchyma. From the term angle, as you can see here in the figure, the focus of the wall thickening or the cell wall thickening is at the corner or at the angle. But cell wall thickening is also present in the other areas. So in this type of collenchyma, there are no intercellular spaces. And this is the most common type of collenchyma. It is usually found in the hypodermis. The next type is the lacunar collenchyma. So in this type of collenchyma, the wall thickening is restricted in the intercellular spaces. Lacunar collenchyma may look like as the angular collenchyma since the intercellular spaces is normally seen at the corners. But in lacunar, they have intercellular spaces. So this is the only type of collenchyma cells that have intercellular spaces. And this can be found in fruit walls. The next type is the lamellar collenchyma, or also called as the plate collenchyma. They have thickened tangential cell walls and are arranged into ordered rows, as you can see here in the figure. So this type of collenchyma is closely packed, so there is no intercellular spaces. And this can be found in the petioles of the leaves. The last one is the annular collenchyma. This type of collenchyma has uniformly thickened cell walls. The last type of cell is the sclerenchyma. From the Greek word skleros, meaning hard, these cells are thick and rigid. Their cell walls are thick and rigid. And since they are rigid, they have lignin. Remember that lignin is responsible for the enhancement of rigidity of the cell wall. Since they are thick, there are no intercellular spaces, and their thickness and rigidity prevents the enlargement of the cell, therefore they are dead at maturity. And they are also hard. So of course, their function includes mechanical support and rigidity and protection. So there are 2 types of sclerenchyma, the fibers and the sclerates. The fibers are the elongated with tapered ends. And there are different types of fibers. We have the surface fibers, ciliary fibers, and extraciliary fibers. The surface fibers, of course, they are found on the fruit walls and seed coat. The ciliary, these are fibers that is associated with the xylem. These are also called the wood fiber. The extraciliary, these are fibers that is associated with the tissues outside the xylem. That's why it is extra, outside the xylem. And it is also called as the bast fibers. So this is what a fiber may look like. The next type of sclerenchyma is the sclerates. So these are the short and isodiametric in shape. This is what a sclerate may look like. So there are different types of sclerates. We have the brachysclerates or the stone or the grit cells. The astrosclerates or the star-shaped like sclerates. The trichosclerates, these are the hair-like or the branch hair-like sclerates. The macrosclerates, these are rod-shaped and occurs in layer. The osteosclerates, osteo meaning bone, so these are bone-like sclerates. And the filiform sclerates. So these are the actual examples of a sclerate. So this is the brachysclerate. Oh, this one is the star-shaped astrosclerate. The hair-like, the branch hair-like trichosclerates. This one is in layers and rod shape is the macrosclerate. And this one is the bone shape, the osteosclerate. And this one is the filiform sclerates.